Welcome to another edition of the eSpot with Camille. The eSpot is your location for the latest in entertainment, beauty, and design from the people who make it. Thanks for joining. Welcome, everyone. As Women's History Month is just starting to begin, I cannot wait for you to meet my guest. She is, how do I even describe her? Like, she's such an innovator, but she's also an OBGYN, board certified, Dr. Cynthia Wesley, actually, and a fellow of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology with over 20 years of clinical expertise. Okay. As a warrior for women, Dr. Wesley uses her passion and expertise to help others in various arenas. She even started her very own skincare line for beauty down below, which is a wonderful way for us to take care of our favorite. I guess it's one of our favorite body parts that gives us pleasure anyway. So, except for that one time of the month. But anyway, we're going to talk about all of it. She's going to also share a little bit about from her book, The Beauty Below, a guide to intimate wellness and beauty for dark skin, because there is a difference. And this is going to be really important for us to understand. And even like back in the day when I was an esthetician and had a wax down below, I noticed there was a huge difference between ethnicities sometimes. So I'm curious on a doctor's perspective, more information she can share with us to really understand not only the beauty of our vulva and vagina and all the parts in between, but to even just go into how we can maintain it healthy instead of all these different things that are coming out between steaming it and freezing it. Can't we just be nice to her? Like, Dr. Sin's going to tell us all the things, and I can't wait. So thank you so much for joining me during this wonderful month that celebrates all things women, but especially for us to learn more and dig in deeper to our taco, to learn more about our pocketbook, all the cute little nicknames they have for it. But thank you again, Dr. Sin, for being here. Share a little bit how you got started in OBGYN.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And, growing up, I always knew I wanted to be a doctor, but I really wasn't sure what type of physician I wanted to be. And I really made the decision to become an OBGYN once I was in medical school. Now, growing up, I was always intrigued by women's health, and it was so taboo to talk about it in my family. The
Yeah.
women would whisper, Miss Such and Such had a hysterectomy, and it was like this big secret. Oh, someone has fibroids, and they're whispering about it. And I was just always so curious. So, sitting in a classroom, learning about different conditions, it really struck home to me that, gosh, why wasn't anyone talking to me about these things other than the simple birds and the bees and to how to take care of yourself once your periods start? That's all I knew. And so I love being an OBGYN because I feel like it fulfills so many different aspects of who I am. I'm a natural cheerleader, so I get to cheer for women. And the majority of the time, we're able to solve a problem, and that's big.
When you were talking earlier about there's a lot of secrecy in our community about, I would say just sex in general, but definitely anything below the belt. Because even when you were bringing that all up, it wasn't until after I had a procedure done, then my aunts would come out and be like, "Oh, I had that done too, sweetie. Oh, I had fibroids too, sweetheart." Why do you think there was that going on, where there was so much secrecy, where we didn't really share information so we could learn how to, like, when these things start popping off, that we're like, "Oh, I know what this is," or "I know what to go to my doctor to ask about."
Well, I think a lot of it actually began way, way before our generation. And, first of all, we have to look at the fact that physiologically we're different, we're special as far as women of color. And then when you add the historical wrongs that have been done to our women in slavery, we did not have ownership over our own bodies. And so our women, our ancestors, they were in defense mode. And when you are in defense mode, when you have been traumatized, the last thing you want to do is talk about it, right?
Very
And
true.
so we lost that ability to talk about our intimate space, and we wanted to shield it, because if you could just hide from it, then maybe bad things wouldn't happen to your loved ones, the other women in your family, your daughters, your granddaughters. And over the years, what that has done is put us in a situation where all you're told is keep your legs closed and super, super clean, right? And now we're ignorant, to be quite honest, we're very ignorant when it comes to our intimate space. The majority of women do not know the difference between the vulva and the vagina. And that's compounded in women of color because of our history.
Yeah.
So, my objective is to remove the shame and empower women of color to be confident in their intimate space. And that's why we call that Black Vagina Confidence.
And I loved on your website, you gave the suggestion that every day you look at your vagina every day, so you can be able to tell when it's not healthy or when things are different, but also to just learn to love it, learn to see that it's beautiful. It's brings in life, it takes in life, it does all the fun things. So, what made you like even thinking of that when, as a gynecologist, a lot of times with doctors, I feel like when I go in, they just give you a diagnosis, but they don't necessarily tell you how you should take care of your body. What does that mean, getting these certain diagnoses? So with you, I love that your website, you dive a little bit deeper, things people may have never thought of. I've never thought of putting a mirror and looking at my own vagina and seeing what's up on a daily basis anyway. So what are your hopes with this generation, even older generations? Because I mean, we need to start like education's power. It's empowering, to know what's going on and to be able to share that. How do you think we can move past the taboo? And I love what you're doing. Obviously, that's helping. But how do you think we could, like, as a community, really get to a point where we're really sharing information and resources?
Well, number one, we have to be comfortable talking about it. That's number one. I believe the younger generation are a little bit better off than we are. They're a little bit more outgoing and comfortable speaking about their intimate space. The problem with the younger generation, they just don't know where to get correct information from,
True.
other than, TikTok, Instagram,
YouTube. Yeah.
Facebook. But really, that's where it starts. And if you think about the world we live in with disparities of healthcare, this is our one little weapon, right? To combat disparities in healthcare, because you have to be one with your own body and really know your body. And
Yeah.
that starts with knowing what it looks like. You know, many women don't even understand that women can develop vulvar cancer. That's cancer on the outside of the intimate space, right?
Right.
And if
Yeah.
you're
I didn't
not
know.
looking at it, how
Yeah.
do you know? Women can have conditions down there like lichen sclerosis that often is misdiagnosed in women of color, or they go a very long time before they're diagnosed, which adds to a lot of morbidity because it looks different
Yeah.
on our skin, right? So we have to get comfortable knowing what we normally look like. So if we see a change, any type of change, you can advocate for yourself when you go to the doctor. I need you to look right here because this just looks different than what it has before. And I need to make sure that everything is okay.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm glad you brought about even the morbidity of it all, because I was talking to my dad just the other day. He's like, the most dangerous place for a Black woman is the hospital to some extent. W- How do you, what is your advice for Black women when they do go in, they do notice something different and they don't feel like they're being heard, or maybe they're being dismissed a little too early? What would you say are definite things you need to advocate yourself for more, or what is not normal? Because even like with when I was going through my periods and the pain and all that, I didn't know it wasn't. I mean, you saw my doll commercials, so I was like, "Oh, this must be normal." You just have everybody has pain with periods, but there when it's extreme, you don't know what's extreme, and even
Mhm.
like there's so many different symptoms, you're not exactly sure if this is something I should go to the doctor for or not. But I think in that area, it's not so clear. So, can you give some tips on when we definitely need to go and make sure we're heard too?
Right. So that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, Beauty Below, is because I wanted to make sure that women understood what was normal, things they can do at home for common problems, ways to avoid problems, and then when you need to come see someone like me, right? And it's so hard to really get the message out there. And I think us as healthcare providers, we need to do a better job with stepping outside of the exam room and really speaking to the community, because we have so many people now speaking in arenas that they're really not knowledgeable in that topic, and we're not speaking up. So we definitely need to speak up more and create environments where women know it's safe and accurate. And those are the two things: it's safe and it's accurate. So I think that nowadays with the internet, instead of going to social media, go to reputable sites such as the CDC, Center for Disease Control, the NIH, places like that where 100% is reputable. I try to put educational information on my site when it comes
Mhm.
to the intimate space, and that's Beauty Below MD, just so that women can be informed about what's normal, what's not normal, and when they need to see someone like me. And if they go to the doctor and they feel like they're not being heard, they feel like they're being dismissed, what do you do next? And my suggestion all the time is find someone else, because you don't have to stay with whoever your provider is. It's okay to see someone else. And I think that's a message sometimes that is lost in our community because we're raised to have so much respect for the healthcare environment that I think it limits us in really being able to advocate for ourselves when we're in that position that we feel like we're not being heard.
Yeah, or there's even that blind loyalty sometimes where
Yes,
you're like, "Oh,
yes.
I'm already committed to this place. I shouldn't try somewhere else. They already have my records," or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
So that's a very good point that your body, your choice, your well, in some states.
Yes.
Um, but hopefully, um, yeah, we won't go into political stuff. But yeah, so you have your book. You created it to kind of help empower women to learn more about the differences and when to go to the doctors. What are some of the things that you really want people to understand about why they need that book?
Well, there are conditions that are unique to us.
Mm.
When I say us, I mean women of color. For example, prime example, uh, women of color are 3 times more likely to have bacterial vaginosis, or what some call BV, than our white counterparts. Now, majority of us, when you go to the doctor and you've told you have bacterial vaginosis, and sometimes you get it again and again and again, they say, "Hey, how are you cleaning? You don't need to be using those smell good products. That's causing the BV.
Yeah.
Who are you sleeping with?"
Mm,
And they make you feel like you can't even have sex sometimes, or they make you feel dirty as if you're sleeping with someone who's dirty.
right.
And really, there are way simpler solutions. And so, those are the things I talk about in the book. There is a huge study that was done at the University of Pittsburgh, and it showed a direct link between bacterial vaginosis and vitamin D deficiency.
Wow.
Okay. Now, who's more likely to have vitamin D deficiency? Right.
Those of us with
People of
melanin.
color. Right. So, when you treat the vitamin D, you resolve the BV. You're not getting recurrent
Mm,
bacterial vaginosis. And the study even went so far as to look at even white women. Now, they're way less likely to have recurrent bacterial vaginosis than we are. But
mm.
even if they have vitamin D deficiency. It was a link with them as well for those who did have it. And if you treat the vitamin D deficiency, they're no longer getting the recurrent bacterial vaginosis. Now, why is that not discussed in every primary care office? That
Just
should
in
be
general,
common
yeah.
knowledge, right?
I think for all women, because
Yes.
when I was breastfeeding my daughter, they made a point of teaching me, "Oh, you'll have to give her a vitamin D supplement because you're breastfeeding and she's a child of color."
Mhm.
Never did it dawn on me like, "Oh, wait, I should probably start taking vitamin D too, because 'cause I'm stuck home with her all the time and inside and so on." So, I started taking it and it was like I noticed a difference in my life. I don't think I've ever been diagnosed with BV. I don't remember if I have. There's so many other fun diagnoses like endometriosis, fibroids, endometriosis, all the fun stuff. But,
Right.
needless to say, um, I wonder how many times it's just a matter of being misdiagnosed or being assumed, "Oh, it must be an STD or it must be this," because they have those stereotypes about Black women and they're not always treating the symptoms or really trying to cure things. They're just going on stereotypes. So I'm glad you brought that up about vitamin D and also just really understanding the fact that it is something more common with us and it's something we should definitely pay more attention to. Speaking of that, there's been this a lot of conversations about hair relaxers being related to I can see already in your face too, fibroids and so on, and endometriosis and ovarian cancer, all the things. Why do you think that is? Because they kind of paired relaxers and the Brazilian blowout straighteners with like all in one conclusive thing. And they're so completely different chemicals and ways and so on. So I wonder with you, have you looked into this and what do you think about that?
Yes, I have. And so the community of my sister docs who are also OBGYN, as soon as those studies came out, we were all on the phone together, on social media together, reviewing the studies because that's important. You have to
Mhm.
look at the quality of the study to say if it's important or not. That's number one. And the studies are legitimate and that there is an association. But I think we lose sight of a bigger problem sometimes, right? So when we look at hair relaxers and endometrial cancer, we also have to pay attention to the fact that one of the biggest increased risks for endometrial cancer is obesity.
Mm.
Okay. Women who have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, if they go many years without having a period and they're not given medication like progesterone to protect their lining, they're at increased risk for endometrial cancer. So before you even worry about a perm in your hair, what's your weight doing? You know, how many women of color are affected by PCOS? And no one is telling them, hey, you can't go all this time not having a period without having some protection on board, right? And with progesterone is mainly what we use to protect that lining. They may put you on a regular birth control pill, but as long as it has that progesterone in it, that's what you need. So these are basic conversations that are being missed in our community. And we have to do a better job of really spreading the word.
So, speaking of spreading the words and a lot of myths out there, I want to talk about another hot topic, um, steaming of the vagina.
Hmm.
Sitting on those I don't even know what it's called exactly because I get so many request to send me products or for me to go get this tried out. Da, da, da. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I've been told a million times about your pH. You don't want to mess up your pH there. It's a self cleaning machine. And not only that, but you don't want to put a lot of fragrances up there too. So I've always been a little leery about it. But I
Hmm.
wonder from the expert, what do you say about all of that?
Once again, another reason why I wrote the book, right? Because
It's in
let's
the
be
book.
honest, women want, especially women of color, a lot of women, they want to do a little bit more,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? But they feel that they can't, or they're going to get a bad infection, something bad is going to happen, or they feel shameful
Mm.
if they want to do something extra, right? So we'll get to the steam. But for example, I do a whole chapter on product selection
Mm.
because we always hear buzzwords, oh, it's if it has a fragrance, you're going to get a yeast infection. Well, what is a fragrance? A
Right.
fragrance is anything that's added to a product after it's created to change the scent. That's simply what fragrance means. So it could be a lot of fragrance free products out there that are harmful, that can irritate and cause problems, right? And then there can be some that have high quality fragrances like vanilla or something of that nature. It was added after the product was created, even though it's healthy, to change the smell, but it's a fragrance. So I want women to be able to walk into their CVS or Walgreens, wherever, flip the back over and look at that and be confident with the selection that they're making and knowing for themselves is this something okay for me to use. And
Mhm.
so with Beauty Below, we really made sure for every woman, including women who just want a little bit more, that we're able to provide products that answers all those questions. For example, our V spray, it's an intimate refresher for both sweat and odor down there, right? So it smells great, but what does the scent come from, right? It comes from the organic aloe and the green tea that's in it.
Mm.
So it has a smell and it smells wonderful, but it's also healthy. So that's the key. And it's hard to find the sweet spot when you're just on TikTok in the middle of the night and looking at all these products that people are offering that they're whipping up in their kitchen and they're saying everything is natural and therefore it's safe, and that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So, another thing when we talk about steaming, that's kind of like a hot topic slash trend right now is that people want to steam. And there's nothing wrong with vaginal steaming. When you look at your face, your public face, we steam our public face and it helps our skin, right? So
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with steaming your private face. It's skin just like the public face, but you have to be careful with steaming. All right. There are some women who shouldn't go get steamed. If you have irregular bleeding down there, don't go steaming. It's not going to shrink your fibroids. It's not going to um, get rid of your endometriosis. It's not going to do any of those things. It can help the skin on the outside. The steam is not reaching way up on the inside. All right. Now, some people say, I do feel better after steaming with my fibroids. I don't have as much pain. It's the same effect as putting a water bottle on your belly. All right.
Mm, right.
Um, I do not like that often they tell people that with steaming that they are getting rid of infections. You can't get rid of infections by steaming. That's number one. Steaming itself is not going to cause a yeast infection or bacterial vaginosis. It's okay to steam. Steaming at home can be tricky because it's very easy to burn your bottom because your bottom is very close to the heat, to that very hot water. So I do recommend for women who are steaming to go to a professional to have the steaming done. So I don't have a problem with steaming per se. You just have to make sure that you meet criteria. If you have an open lesion on your bottom, you cannot steam that away. Do not steam if you have a bump down there that you're not sure what it is. You need to go be evaluated to make sure it's not herpes or something of that nature.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were saying that, I was like, "Ooh, that probably would be good for ingrown hairs, but only if you know how to properly." I can't even think of the word. Extract them. So, since you
Well,
brought up
and if
your,
you're
yeah,
exfoliating, it's okay to steam if you have issues with ingrown hairs.
and that's what we're going to bring up next. Some
All
of your
right.
products, okay? Because I was like, speaking of, instead of steaming or having to go somewhere else, not saying can't do both, but you have all these amazing. I'm actually looking at the website, and you have all these different amazing products. Tell me a little bit. Well, one of them sold out, so we won't talk about that one. But the importance of like even using the right products to shave because you have the beauty down, beauty below, she shave.
Yeah,
So share a little bit about why we need a special shaving cream for that area.
right. So really, the whole concept of shaving is really where Beauty Below started.
Mm,
I was a collegiate All American cheerleader in college, and I struggled with grooming my bikini line. I could not do what my white counterparts could do. If I did, I would get irritation, bumps. It would just be horrible. But you cannot be on ESPN in the middle of a hill stretch and not be right down there, correct?
amen.
So I always struggled with grooming my bikini line. And so my dad struggled with his beard when he would shave. And his solution, I don't know if you remember magic shave that a lot
Mhm.
of black men would use.
Yeah,
I was
it's like
like,
a
oh,
powder or something, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now they got it pre-mixed. It's already mixed, so you don't have to mix it up in the powder. But I said, I'm gonna go get me some magic shave, and I want to see if I use this magic shave, if it'll work for me. And it did.
Mm,
Um, Now it stunk to high heaven. So I had to use it when no one else was in the house, and I was embarrassed that I was using magic shade, but it worked.
yeah.
And I was mortified when my boyfriend in college found my little black and gold bottle under my cabinet in the bathroom.
Mm,
Soon I was cheating and, all these things. And, you know,
yeah.
wasn't worried about that part. But I was so embarrassed
Mm,
when he could not understand why I needed to use it. And I'm trying to explain to him why. And it really messed with my confidence at that
mm,
point. So once I became a gynecologist, I really started finding solutions for myself and then offering them to my patients. And then my patients were like, oh, you have to spread the word. More women need these type of solutions.
yeah.
So that's really what started Beauty Pillow per se. So with She Shave, it's a medicated shave mousse. So you can actually shave with a razor. but not get the irritation and bumps and things of that nature. So I have a lot of women who they don't even go to get wax anymore because the she shave works so well, and so they're spending way less money by just taking care of things at home. And the products that are the ingredients that are in it is what makes she shave so special.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because back in the day, I was an esthetician, and with waxing, much like yourself, I was like, I cannot do this. A, it's painful as heck.
Hmm.
But secondly, I would get ingrowns really bad from it compared to shaving. I wouldn't get it. And so I was just like, no, I'm good. I'll wait until there's something stronger or something not as painful and that doesn't cause the ingrowns. But it, much like yourself, it was like, I don't want to have to explain. And I felt like I had scars from the previous ingrowns. And so I just
Yes,
was using my acne medication down there too to try to clear it up. But you have products for that,
I
for
do.
those girlies that need the smoother skin down there, or might even have some scarring left with the, so you have the even out pads and you also have the
Mhm.
smooth skin. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I know I suffered with it. I'm sure a lot of my clients probably suffered with it. 'Cause I didn't have we used back then, it was tin skin, and I felt like it worked for some, but not for everyone.
So smooth skin is our ingrown hair serum, and it's incredible. It works very quickly. So let's say you feel like you're getting an ingrown right now. You put that smooth skin on tonight, tomorrow you're like, wow, it's like almost completely gone, if not gone altogether. It works very well. And you can use it two different ways. You can use it to treat an ingrown, or you can use it to prevent.
Mm.
So some women who, ingrowns is like a daily problem for them, I had them to use that about 3 times a week just to put on the entire area, and it keeps the ingrowns away. And then, the other half of women just use it as needed if they feel that they're getting a ingrown hair. I even have men who buy our smooth skin product. That's how well it works.
Oh, for the
Yes,
beard area, or like, no
everywhere.
judgment, because
Yes.
sometimes guys are wearing Speedos and are on ESPN and need
Or even if they're not wearing Speedos, but in the comfort of their own home, during their intimate moments, they don't wanna have, the ingrowns down there.
yeah, suspicious
Um,
bumps. Yeah, no, I
yes,
get
but they
that.
use it on their face and stuff as well. I have a fair number of men who use that. And then our even out pads are for those dark spots because as melanin rich women, melanin rich skin, we get a dark spot. I know for myself, it feels like it takes about a year for it to go away. And it does help to even the skin tone, and it's safer down there.
Yeah, and one thing, like with your face, you're protecting it with sunscreen, you're
Mhm,
protecting it with all these different creams, and with the vagina, and I love that you even, mentioned this on there, underwear is optional for some people. You
mhm.
don't have to wear it, but you do recommend it with skinny jeans. I do remember that part because
Absolutely.
ow.
Yes.
Yeah, or even I would go so far as to say vegan leather, like, it's not somewhere you wanna be that sweaty. So anywho, but, one of the things I noticed that you were mentioning on your show, or not on your show, on your website, was just how important it is to take good care of that area, but also knowing when, like you said, to come into you. But I wonder, is there any other, I guess, from you being a gynecologist, and I want to be considerate of your time. We're already at 30 minutes. It goes so fast. But are there other elements or other tips you would want to give women to let them know, hey, I have not only do I have products to help you with these ailments, but because I'm a gynecologist, I've seen this so often that maybe this may pop up for you at some point because you've seen it so often. Is there anything like that you would want to share, and products maybe that go with that as well?
Oh, yes, so much when it comes to that because, so many women now are removing the hair from down there. Technically, keeping the hair is healthier than removing it. But women are removing the hair. So if they are, we need to make sure they're educated about the healthiest way to maintain the skin down there. Because when you remove the hair, as you know, you're removing your natural skin barrier. And with that, you're going to be more prone for infection, irritation. Irritation leads to dark spots, etc. And it's going to age quicker. Who wants that? So,
No.
if you're removing the hair, you need to make sure that you are using a moisturizer, okay, that's made for the intimate space. A moisturizer that the skin is a little different with your private face than it is your public face. So, you need to use something that's made specifically for that area. And you mentioned our product that is sold out. That's our Love Lips. And but we have a new product that is dropping the 1st of March, and it's a brightening moisturizer that's made for the intimate space, and it's called V Bright. So be on the lookout for that. And it's great for any woman that's removing the hair, if it's shaving, waxing, sugaring, laser hair removal. If you only shave the bikini line before you go to the pool, you still need to make sure that you're using a special moisturizer because your defense is gone.
Yeah, and definitely put on that sunscreen because
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
you're doing all these lightning products. It's not going to help if you go right back out and darken it all back up. Because
Right.
yeah, um, another thing that I just thought about too that's becoming really big is the Esmella chair. Have you heard of that? Or the tightening treatments? There's like a whole new spa that opened up in New York just for the V area. It's called the V spot. So I'm already kind of in love with the name
Hmm.
being the E spot.
Hmm.
But one of my girlfriends posted a picture of her attending the grand opening, and I was just like, oh, so they have the Esmella chair that you can sit on. That's it's a electric magnetic stimulator for like it does 1,000 or so um, Kegels in a minute or something. I don't know exact
Hmm.
numbers, but I can put it in the chat later. And then there's also, I guess, a wand for tightening inside. And
Hmm.
then there was, I was just looking at the video like, and looked on the website very briefly, but obviously I'm not sponsored by V Spot, so I'm not going in all their stuff. But
Right.
curious for you, like you've heard of all these different things. Is there any of these treatments that you recommend to your clients that you're like, it's just a fad, it's only going to last a couple of months, why would you waste your money on that, or
Hmm.
whatever it may be? Is there any advice you give to that, or do you offer some of these treatments and hey, come on in, I'll help you with this, get a doctor to do it?
Well, as far as the Mela chair, I don't really know the true outcomes of that. I haven't looked at those studies to know how well it works. So I can't
Mm,
say yay or nay to that. But with a lot of the laser treatments, they really do work very well.
yeah.
Okay. Not just for tightening, but also to really help when some women lose their ability to have an orgasm. Okay. It can help with that. There's the O shots, things of that nature that are out there. There's a lot women can do nowadays to really maximize their experience, and not just from a sexual standpoint, but just as a woman. And with
Mhm.
the special parts that we as women have been blessed with compared to our male counterparts.
No, it's interesting because with men, you always hear they can produce forever because, Robert De Niro had a kid at 80 or whatever. But you never really think about with women, like our sexual health, like how to maintain it and keep it going forever, too, in
Mhm.
that sense. I guess the O shots and the tightening can help with that to make sure, even in our senior years, well, I guess some seniors are getting pretty active since there was like this whole story about sexual STDs or STIs. I guess now I'm aging myself, was going around at some of the um, elder living homes. I can't think of the
That
correct
is
term.
very true. That
Yes.
is very true.
So
So,
they're getting it in, but I'm
yeah.
curious, like, just making sure how do we can maintain that health as long as possible. I'm assuming get the book, get the skincare, and make sure you book with Dr. Sin.
That's right. If you don't use it, you lose it.
That part.
Women need to remember that. So it's nothing wrong. We're more than just a woman to bear children. Our lives continue even after childbearing, and it's okay. It's completely okay if you want to do a little bit more. Our job is to make sure you do it safely. So at Beauty Below, we are all about no shame, only solutions.
Yeah, I love that. So again, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. I loved chatting with you. I had like 3 million things going on in my head at the same time because there's just so many questions I want to ask. But of course, knowing you have a book out there is like just get the book, and make sure you follow Dr. Sin also on Instagram as well as Beauty Below, because you'll find all the information you need there and also to help keep up with you. Is there anywhere else that we should make sure that we're following you, keeping up with you? Do you have any events coming up? Because that's how I met you, was at a Beauty and Brains event. So I'm curious if you have anything else coming up that we should definitely be following and checking out.
Well, we plan to be at a number of events this spring and summer. We are going to be at the Atlanta Jazz Festival. We'll be at the Capitol Jazz Festival in DC. We're hoping we're going to be at the Essence Festival. So we have a number of things going on that we are super excited about. We have some new products that are dropping. Like I said, the 1st of March. mainly our it's called Go by Beauty Below. It's a Go kit. And in that kit, you got everything you need. You could travel with it. It's TSA ready. So it has your V spray for sweat and odor. It has your intimate wipes. It has your wash and your brightening moisturizer.
Sounds like a great gift, not only for Mother's Day, but every holiday.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yeah, we need to take care of ourselves 365 days. So, what's your self care routine for yourself?
Well, the big thing that I like to do is stretch. I know it sounds crazy, but I do not sleep well if I'm really, really tight. And so, I'm a former cheerleader and stretching was our lives. And so lately I've been back into stretching and it is a game changer. I now sleep like a baby. I'm noticing that I'm more agile when I'm doing things around the house simply from stretching. So, something to think about.
You heard it here first. So, again, thank you so much for not only sharing so much wisdom with us today, but for being a guest. And we'll definitely have to have you back because so much information. And I have so many more questions because I'm sure they're always attacking us women, telling us we can't do this, we can't do that. And I'm still a relaxer girl. So, I just wanted for my own confirmation. But good to know also about the vitamin D. Like, so much great information. Make sure you guys are following Dr. Sen. You're checking out beautybelowmd.com, all the things. And thanks for tuning into the eSpot with Camille. Remember, it's every week, every Thursday, a new episode. So waiting to see what we'll have next week. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. I am Camille Cower, your host for the eSpot with Camille.